Congress has failed to enact any sensible reform to our nation's lax gun laws. And there's one simple reason for this, and it's the organization behind me, right here, the National Rifle Association.
The National Rifle Association remains one of the strongest and most powerful gun lobbies in America. They rightfully stand firm in the protection of Second Amendment rights. But with another senseless death at the hands of another whacked-out gunman, is it not time for this group to rethink their overall stance and call for some common sense discussion? Let's welcome to MidPoint a former police officer, former political director for the National Rifle Association, now president of the Independent Firearm Owners Association. Richard Feldman joins us here in the studio. Richard, thank you so much for being here today.
Thanks for having me.
Another death in the Pacific Northwest from the young man who went crazy at a school, if you will, just using that term as the media would or anybody else, using a weapon, shooting it up. It's a third teenager, a young girl that is dead. It then comes down to the discussion that people always have about the NRA at times like this. Absolutely protect the Second Amendment rights, but come out and say something. Get involved in this discussion. Why do they never want to go there?
Well, I guess there are a couple of reasons. The NRA certainly has no particular insights into mental health. I think we really need to be looking both to our law enforcement community as well as in particular the psychoanalytic, psychiatric community as to what we can do a better job of. We have a failed mental health system in this country, and to look to the NRA with no particular expertise in medical issues like this is looking in the wrong place to start with.
All right, now there's those people who would say what you've said exactly true. There is a mental health crisis in this country. But they'll say take the guns out of the hands. Don't make them so easy to get. The NRA stand up and at least try to keep them out of the hands of kids, the nut jobs, the wackaloons, whatever they are, and they don't see that. That, I think, is the biggest thing that people are angry about with regard to the NRA. They're not doctors, but they say do something at least to stop the guns from getting into the wrong hands.
Well, what we as a society could do a lot better job of, and indeed President Obama made it one of his executive orders after Newtown, was promoting firearm responsibility and safety. He's done absolutely nothing about it, and that's something that doesn't cost taxpayer money. The NRA, whatever else you may think, has been the biggest promoter of firearm safety in the country. And when we look at this sad incident, or we go back 2 years ago to Adam Lanza, what was the result? Well, it was a violation of one of the basics of gun safety. Always keep your guns secured when not in use.
But have they gone far enough? Have they really gone far enough?
You know, it's the parents that have to do the right thing. We as a society could do a much better job educating and nudging people to do the right thing, instructing them on the right thing. But at the end of the day, Big Brother is not going to be around to take care of every situation and every problem. They can't, and I wouldn't want to live in a society where they could.
How did the president then fail?
On so many levels, and we only have a few hours before Election Day. But, you know, he talks the talk, but he refuses to walk the walk when it comes to doing the really important things in this country that need being done, and there are some by government. Well,
with regard to guns?
Well, with regard to guns, he said he was going to institute a firearms safety education program, that he was going to get the mental health community together. He's done neither. He's been lost in action. Where has he been?
Why doesn't the NRA, though, just go ahead and why don't they make the outreach to the mental health community? Why don't they start something?
Well, you'll have to ask them, but it's not their issue. Ask the mental health community, where have you been hiding all this time? It's your issue. It's not about guns, whether you use diesel fuel and fertilizer or a knife or a gun. It's really when someone is very troubled and they want to reach out and harm as many people as possible, that's a mental health issue.
But wouldn't it at least look right for the NRA, with the tremendous amount of power that they have, to take the forward step and say, we understand it's not our issue and it's yours, but we want to do something about it. We want to push it forward and get involved with mental health.
Well, they could say it, but it's not their issue, and they have no particular expertise in that area. I look to the folks. There's actually a chief of police in DeKalb County, Georgia, Dr. Cedric Alexander. He's a psychologist and he's a police chief. He's the kind of individual that really is at the nexus of these two issues. Why don't we bring those kinds of people together at the White House and have that kind of discussion?
Okay, stand by just a second. We're going to take a break. We will return with Richard Feldman, focus down on the issue of where the NRA needs to go from here and why that might be impossible to even consider. That's all coming up right here on MidPoint, where we question everything.